Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is essentially the second part of Spark of Insanity, the dangers of complex fluorescent bulbs. I will start off by talking about the disposal situation of today. Today, it is illegal in many states to dispose of CFLs in the trash. California, Maine, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Vermont, and Massachusetts have all passed laws. To properly clean up a CFL, you are told to vacate the premises, sometimes for up to 20 minutes, with the windows open to spread the toxic mercury to your neighbors. You are supposed to contact a local waste collection agency like the Association of Lighting and Mercury Recyclers, Earth 911, or Lamp Recycle. Many retailers still will not accept broken CFLs, and those who do still might be just stockpiling them. Many organizations will instruct you to mail the CFLs to them, but that is a violation against laws pertaining to mercury waste. It has been confirmed that CFLs at end of life are considered hazardous waste. Only 2% of CFLs are actually recycled today. Most are illegally disposed of. This is the EPA's own website where you can go and research disposal of CFLs. This is a report from 2004 that quoted that 2% figure. This is a report from 2008, and like many reports, continues to quote the 2% figure. Issues with light produced. One of the biggest problems with CFLs is that the light produced by them is far different when compared to an incandescent bulb. CFLs have been known to produce more harmful UV light and frequencies of visible light that have actually been attributed to waking human beings up from sleep, similar to when the sun rises. There's been a series of studies that have actually noted behavioral issues caused or aggravated by the light of CFLs. CFLs have been nicknamed chronic fatigue lamps accordingly. UV light dangers. UV light from CFLs are surprisingly harmful. After sitting next to a CFL for 1 hour at a distance of 20 centimeters, you have met the safe level of UV radiation. Touching a CFL while activated can actually give you the UV equivalent of standing in front of the summer sun all day. Study on CFL light. This is a very important and relatively recent study that I thought I should share. New research funded by the National Science Foundation has scientists warning consumers about the potentially harmful effects energy-saving CFL light bulbs have on the skin. Our study revealed that the response of healthy skin cells to UV emitted from CFL bulbs is consistent with damage from ultraviolet radiation, said lead researcher Miriam Rafalovich, professor of materials science and engineering at Stony Brook University in New York. In a statement, skin cell damage was further enhanced when low dosages of titanium dioxide nanoparticles were introduced to the skin cells prior to exposure. Now, titanium dioxide is actually a chemical found in sunblock. According to Rafalovich, with or without titanium dioxide, incandescent bulbs of the same light intensity had zero effects on healthy skin. In this study, we studied the effects of exposure to CFL illumination on healthy skin tissue cells. Cells exposed to CFLs exhibited a decrease in proliferation rate, a significant increase in the production of reactive oxygen species, and a decrease in their ability to contract collagen. This is that report in Photochemistry and Photobiology from 2012. You can look at it for yourself. Examples of medical issues. The dangers of CFL light has been referred to as the Pennsylvania condition due to the fact such lighting has been used in Pennsylvania prisons. Medical conditions include depression, damage to circadian rhythm, headaches, migraines, seizures, epilepsy, sleep disorders, dizziness, tiredness, fatigue, irritation, nervousness, anxiousness, anxiety, skin conditions, sexual dysfunction, obesity, depersonalization disorder, and derealization disorder. People who suffer from ADD, autism, dyslexia, epilepsy, migraines, and skin conditions have claimed or been found to have aggravated symptoms. The light of CFLs has actually been found to hinder the body's ability to carry out the necessary use of minerals. Depersonalization disorder and derealization disorder are something to research. eHow is a website that has a series of articles written by contributors that usually have to source their documents. Thus, I found some interesting articles I thought I should share. First off, the negative effects of fluorescent lighting. Migraine sufferers who are sensitive to flickering light might found that the flicker of fluorescent lights could actually trigger migraines. Reports from the Headache Institute at Roosevelt Hospital in New York suggest complex fluorescent light bulbs in particular may be a trigger for some migraine sufferers, even if they have no problems with regular fluorescent tubes. Seizures. Flickering light has been found to trigger seizures in 3 to 5% of epileptics, according to the Epilepsy Foundation. Eyes. Fluorescent light contains more green, blue, and violet light rather than natural daylight. These light wavelengths are not optimal for reading or visualizing detailed tasks and can cause eye strain. I personally have met people who have complained of such situations. Cancer. The risk of malignant melanoma may be increased to those who are essentially regularly exposed to certain frequencies of fluorescent light, according to a Johns Hopkins University study conducted back in 1993. The United States Food and Drug Administration, now pay attention, reports that roughly 13,000 cases of melanoma each year may be attributed to fluorescent lights. Once again from E. Howe, the long-term effects of fluorescent lighting. Education problems. According to studies conducted by the Erland Institute and a 2006 study by Capital E, students in high schools with fluorescent lighting instead of incandescent lighting had lower test scores and learning rates. This is a report from the Erland Institute that I pulled out some interesting pieces from. Sarah is 17 years old and in the 11th grade, but not attending school. She was diagnosed with severe dyslexia and reading problems in the 2nd grade. She gets headaches daily when in school and migraines about twice a month. She was physically exhausted when she would come home and would sleep for hours and was experiencing extreme anxiety. Her psychiatrist determined her problems were triggered by fluorescent lighting and placed her on Prozac, of course, and recommended that she leave school. The negative effects of fluorescent lighting have seriously affected her motivation, attention, and performance. A rather sad story. Let's jump to a story that had a positive ending, and a pretty interesting one. Bryce is 12 years old and in the 6th grade. He was getting poor grades in school and was unable to finish tests. He could not finish his work in class or focus. He was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder and placed on medication, which was not helpful. Once it was determined that fluorescent lighting triggered poor attention and concentration, the problems were resolved using specially filtered lenses. Imagine that. CFLs and babies. Due to the weaker nature of babies, CFLs have a stronger damaging effect on them. Many babies can go blind or have sight damage due to the strong glare of bright light, essentially CFLs, in hospitals. Many babies have sensitive skin that is actually aggravated by CFLs. Negative effects of fluorescent lighting on babies. Once again, it was an E. Howe article. Skin conditions. According to the Skin Care Campaign and the British Association of Dermatologists, fluorescent light bulbs exacerbate skin rashes in people with skin conditions and diseases. For unknown reasons, people with dermatitis, eczema, and lupus suffer more severely from their conditions when exposed to fluorescent light. This fact is especially troubling when regard to newborn babies, since 1 out of 5 already suffer from eczema or a skin-related condition. Eye damage. According to the National Eye Institute, the light in fluorescent bulbs might actually be harmful to the eyes, especially in premature babies. This is an article from 1985 discussing the damage of fluorescent lights to premature babies' eyes. The list of some reports. This is a series of very, very important reports I'm going to try to make clear to you because it has some pretty interesting information. As early as 1974, Dr. Richard Wertman of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology began to identify negative health effects associated with fluorescent lighting, including migraines, disrupted sexual development, and obesity, because of the distorted spectrum of fluorescent lights acts to suppress melatonin and disrupt the circadian rhythms of the human body. Fluorescent lighting enhances tumor formation, 1986. Fluorescent lighting contributes to agoraphobia, 1990. Increase in breast cancer rates among night workers exposed to fluorescent lighting, 2006. Circadian disruption caused by fluorescent light in the built environment contributes to breast cancer and endocrine disruption, 2001. Fluorescent lighting caused increased stress in humans, 2001. Damage to circadian rhythm and breast cancer. Simply put, CFLs produce light that is more like frequencies presented when the sun is present. Thus, your body is actively trying to wake up, or at least function as you are trying to fall asleep. This constant battle and these constant frequencies of light reduces the body's ability to use melatonin, thus has been linked to various cancers, including breast cancer. And a study published in the Journal of Chronobiology, the Journal Chronobiology International, found breast cancer rates were actually up 22% higher to those people exposed to night light. This is the actual report from Israel. And this is the Telegraph article discussing that report. Growing effects. Fluorescent lights cannot be used to grow indoor plants. In the long term, fluorescent wavelengths do not produce enough necessary light in the proper spectrums for plants to effectively use photosynthesis. Something interesting. Now, you also have the electromagnetic force of CFLs. Results from several epidemiological studies show that moderate association exists between the exposure of magnetic fields above 3 to 4 milligauss, I believe that's what that represents, and the occurrence of childhood leukemia. This risk doubled above the 3 to 4 level. Results of EMF radiation was astonishing. This is just one particular light bulb in the 26 watt range. They found that within 6 inches they were getting milligauss readings of over 100. They actually found even at 4 feet or 48 inches, readings were sometimes as high as 3. This is that report which was compiled back in March 2010. Now, UV light and non-living objects. It is not just living objects that can be damaged by UV light, but almost everything we use daily. Many reports, even confessions by lighting companies, have discussed damage to items due to CFLs. This is an eHow article again, essentially discussing the damage fluorescent lamps can have on art. UV rays. Fluorescent lamps emit a high concentration of UV rays, which can cause significant damage to various types of artwork. Paintings. Over time, UV rays emitted by fluorescent lighting can actually break down the pigments in oil and acrylic paints, causing the colors to appear washed out. Fabrics are also susceptible to damage from UV rays. After significant exposure, fabric dyes can appear washed out. UV rays can even break down fabric fibers. Foam core boards without adequate protection can actually also sustain damage. This is the inside of a lampshade shared by a lighting company, showing the damage that a CFL has caused. The lack of light quality. One of the most controversial issues surrounding CFLs is the quality of light produced. Even though CFLs produce light that is attributed to be warm white on the Kelvin light temperature scale, essentially 3000 to 3500 Kelvin, it is still slightly higher than the incandescent 2700. But that's not the true source of the difference. One of the major failures is that the CFLs have poor performance in regards to the color rendering index. The CRI is a scale 0 to 100 that's used to measure the accuracy a lamp has to produce the correct balance of colors to match its Kelvin temperature rating, essentially the right tone of white light. Incandescent lamps are almost always 100. CFLs can actually be very low on this scale. This is a chart from a Department of Energy report issued by the United States government concerning the color rendering index of several CFLs. As you can see at the top, the incandescent bulbs were 100, perfect. But as you get down, the solid state lamps, the CFLs, were as low as perhaps 55. This is that caliper report from April 2011. Now, the amount of light produced is something which I will actually start a new video for, so stay tuned for part 3.